Hello, and thank you for joining us for this week's edition of It's Your City. I'm your host, Courtney Bloomer. Today's show is brought to you by Paradise Salon, Spa, and Wellness, offering microblading cosmetic treatments. Check them out online at paradisesalonspawellness.com. Our guest today is Chief Sean Slamon of the Carson City Fire Department. Welcome, Chief.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
It's great to have you here. Thanks for taking time out of your schedule during what is already a very busy fire season.
Yes, it has started off even before summer officially kicked off, and it's a little concerning this year.
We did have kind of a moderate winter. There's a lot of growth up in the hills, some fuel out there that could be, making our wildfire season worse. What do you recommend for people who might live near those areas where they've got some wildlands up close to their property?
Certainly. What we recommend, anybody that lives in an area, certainly anybody on the west side of Carson City that lives anywhere near one of the canyons, and then on the east side near the Prison Hill or any of those areas, we recommend a minimum of 30-foot clearance around your house, meaning it's greenery. We don't store wood near anywhere near your house. No dry vegetation anywhere near that area. We also recommend that you clean off pine needles or anything off of your roofs. Those turn to be very combustible in this time of year. As you get into the more elevated areas where you have steeper slopes, we push that clearance area to what we recommend to be about 100 feet.
Right, the fire can run just right up those hills.
Absolutely, and certainly, as today in the last couple of days, we've had some fairly windy days. The wind can really push those fires and make them very dangerous and spread very quickly.
When a fire happens in our area, what is the method that people should be notified by? How can people find out if they're in danger from a fire?
Well, great question. Obviously, what we recommend everybody is go to carson.org and sign up for our Code Red notifications. And that is under the Residents tab on carson.org's website. And it's under Emergency Notifications. It's free. It's only for emergency notifications. It will notify you of fire, evacuations, if there's a chemical spill. You also get notified by Public Works if they're cleaning hydrants out in the area, which could turn your water brown for a short period of time. It's a good notification. And again, it's free and it's easy to sign up. And that's the best way. And then certainly the other way is through official notification through Carson City Fire, Carson City government. We give the actual accurate information. Today's social media, word spreads very quickly, often with good intent, but it's not always accurate.
That's true. It's carson.org. Sign up for Code Red. Some folks already have it. They might be familiar with it. We used it during the flooding, and that would also notify you if we had a fire here.
Yes, that is the way to go.
The best way to go. One thing that people might not understand about fires that we have in our area is how the mutual aid system works. People might not realize that sometimes Carson City Fire Department goes to other fires in the area. You guys were recently out for a fire in Dayton, and other fire departments come here when we have a fire. How does that work?
So we have an excellent working relationship with all of our surrounding agencies. And then we have what we call interlocal agreements with the departments locally. No department in this area is large enough to battle a fire. So for a large fire. So for instance, 2 weeks ago we had the Voltaire Canyon fire. I ended up burning a little over 500 acres. At the height of the fire, we had over 150 firefighters on scene, which from a big wildland perspective is not a lot of people, but when you put it in perspective that Carson City has 16 people on duty, and there were 150 in our city fighting that fire, that tells you we rely on resources quite a bit. So we have interlocal agreements, and there are time frames set into those so that the fire in Dayton, we were there just for a few hours. So that is neighbors helping neighbors and doing the right thing, keeping the fires small, because if we don't do that, they turn into large fires. And then if we do respond to the large fires in any time over a 24-hour period, we are reimbursed for our costs and our personnel and the cost to backfill those stations.
Who's on duty here in Carson City when we send folks to other fires?
So it is our own personnel. We call back our personnel if we send people out to other fires. If it's going to be a short-term fire, we may manage our staffing as is and not always bring people back. But if it's a long-term, if it's something where we anticipate going to be longer than 4 to 5 hours, we'll what we call hire back a crew. We'll bring back an off-duty crew to man the station so that we keep our own service levels up and we can respond to emergencies in the city.
Talk a little bit about the fuels reduction program that Carson City runs to help people manage the fuel and the debris that they might have on their property.
Certainly, great question. So we have a fuels reduction program that is free to citizens that live in the wildland urban interface areas that are pre-identified, and we offer up dumpsters if you're going to clean out your area that we'll drop it off. You can make an appointment you can contact us through the phone, 887-2210, 887-2210, and we'll bring a dumpster out to your house. You fill it and you let us know when it's done, or we'll have a time frame to pick it up, and we'll pick it up and transport it off for free. So that is one of the programs that we have. Another one that we have is we have a seasonal wildland firefighter program. So we have a crew, and they are on the regular days, when they're not fighting fire, they're out making clearing fire breaks and making sure the city has sustainable fire breaks in our threatened areas.
Carson City has kind of a unique program for controlling fires, and that is the sheep. Yes. What are the sheep doing?
So they are done with their job now, but every year through a contract with the Parks Department, we bring sheep into the western aspects of the city, and they basically chew up our vegetation. So they take away a lot of our fuel, and they take away what really is our most dangerous fuel, and that's the grasses. Those dry out the quickest, and they burn the quickest in the summer months. So we put them into our targeted areas, and they start taking the fuel down for us and create fuel breaks.
If a person lives in Carson City and maybe they're taking care of their yard, but they're concerned because there's a vacant house nearby, or maybe the neighbors aren't really doing their part to keep their property, to keep that defensible space, what can they do?
So a couple things. One, obviously have a conversation with your neighbor if you're comfortable with that. That is the best thing. Fire safety is all of our responsibility. But if that doesn't work, or if you're not comfortable with that, you can contact the fire department, and we'll put you in contact with the right resources. Sometimes it may be code enforcement, other times it may be fire prevention, depending on whether it's a residence or a business. And again, our main number is 887-2210.
Fire season is just beginning here in Carson City. What other tips do you have for folks heading into the long, hot summer?
So the biggest one is sign up for Code Red and make sure you have clearance. But regardless, all throughout the year, we recommend that you have a plan to evacuate if we need to. The waterfall fire was our largest fire, and that is now about 14 years ago. And it devastated the west side of Carson City, and it spread extremely fast. And I think you can learn from the lessons from California this last year, and the Thomas Fire and the Santa Rosa fires. People had no time to get out. So have a plan. Store all of your important documents in a safe place to where you can grab them and go, maybe even on a thumb drive or on a laptop that you can grab and go with. Valuable pictures, important documents. Have some money set aside, some cash set aside. And we recommend also having some extra water and some canned foods at your house, just in case. While we focus now, this is the time of year for wildland season. We have several earthquake faults in the area, and we have extreme weather all year. So in the wintertime, we can get floods, or we can get major snowstorms that prevent our ability to get to our residents when they have the time of need. So the biggest responsibility is to be prepared and understand that it's all of our responsibility. Have a place to go, have some contact information, and we know in major emergencies, cell phones don't always work, and that's our lifeblood. We rely on those. So have backup plans and meeting locations to where you can get in contact with family members and loved ones.
Good advice. We want to make sure that people do have a plan. It's everybody's responsibility to be safe and to be prepared. Talk for just one quick minute about fire prevention. A lot of fires in our area are started by target shooting, people driving off-road, those kinds of things. What should people do to avoid starting a fire?
So first of all is be aware and be responsible. You are in a very fire-prone area anywhere in western Nevada and northern Nevada. So if you are enjoying our open space areas, which is a great thing to do. It's one of the greatest attractions in our area. But make sure you have spark arresters on your vehicles. Beware where you park your vehicles. Catalytic converters and even a hot motor or exhaust can ignite a fire. If you are target shooting, contrary to popular belief, those are a significant cause of fires in this area. So we always recommend that you have a water extinguisher with you and a shovel. And so that if you can get a hold of something that starts fairly small, that's our best opportunity. But it's really just to be sensitive to where you're at and be very aware. Don't shoot in areas with high dry vegetation.
All right. Chief Sean Slamon from the Carson City Fire Department, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Courtney.
And thanks to all of you for joining us for this week's edition of It's Your City, brought to you by Paradise Salon Spa and Wellness. Visit them online at paradisesalonspawellness.com or check out their Facebook page for the variety of aesthetic treatments and spa services that they offer. If your business would like to sponsor a future edition of It's Your City, please contact Darla at the address shown on your screen. I'm Courtney Bloomer. We'll see you next week.